I would like to announce that I am just appointing Maulana Afthab Cassim as a wakil. In my absence, he can make you breathe.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina wa nabiyyina maulana Muhammadin wa ala ali sayyidina maulana Muhammadin salatan daimatan maqbulatan tuaddi biha annaha al-qawl azim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli wa nusallimu ala rasulihil kareem. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين صدق الله مولانا العظيم وبلغنا رسوله النبي الأمين المكين الكريم ونحن على ذلك لمن الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. غوث أعظم بمني بيسر وسامة مدد كبلا دي مدد قابا إيما مدد قادری امنا عرائے یا غوث آدم میزنم دمز شیخ احمد رضا خان قطب عالم میزنم سیدی یا مرشدی شاہ مصطفیٰ خان زندہ باد مسلک سرکار اعلی حضرت زندہ باد یا الہی مسلک احمد رضا خان زندہ باد حفظ ناموں سے رسالت کا جو ذمہ دار ہے سیدی یا مرشدی شاہ مصطفیٰ خان زندہ باد حامل فیض رضا مصطفیٰ امداد کن صلی اللہ علی النبی الامی وآلہ صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم صلاة و سلام علیک یا سیدی یا سندی یا حبیبی یا طبیبی یا رسول اللہ صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم وعلی آلک و اصحابک یا رحمت للعالمین. All praise due to Almighty Allah. Durood and salams upon the most perfect, exalted and glorified of Allah's creation, Sayyiduna wa Maulana Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Peace, blessings and salutations upon the Anbiya Kiram, Ahl Bayt Athar, Sahaba Kiram, Khulafa Rashidin, Tabain, Tabi Tabain, A'immai Mujtahideen, Awliya Kamilin, and all those who will follow the path until the last day. We thank Almighty Allah through His infinite mercy and through the wasila of Sayyidina wa Maulana Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam for blessing us with the opportunity once again to congregate during this Mubarak 11 nights of the Garvi Sharif of Sarkar-e Gawth Pak radiyallahu ta'ala an. And we thank him for allowing us to remember him and his beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam and to pay tribute to the pious servants of Almighty Allah, especially Sarkar-e Gawth Mab Sayyidina Shaykh Mahyuddin Abdul-Qadir Al-Jilani Al-Baghdadi radiyallahu ta'ala an. Before I continue, let us all direct our hearts and our thoughts towards the holy court of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and doing so let us together recite Durood Sharif. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa Nabiyana Maulana Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Maulana Muhammadin wa ashabihi wa barik wa sallim sallu alayhi salatan wa salaman alayka ya Sayyidi ya Sanadi ya Habibi ya Tabibi ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Very quickly before I forget, Alhamdulillah, Huzur Sayyidi Muhaddis Kabir is doing better today. Since last night and this morning also much better. Alhamdulillah, may Allah grant us Shifai Kamil, Sehat Ajil, and the weakness that he is having, may Allah remove that physical weakness. And before I forget further, Brother Ghulam Dastagir from Riyadh had mentioned to me that today is the Barsi of his father, Janab Ghulam Rasul. So tonight's mahfil is also Isala Sawab for him and all the marhooms of the Ahl Sunnat, every night, but specifically tonight for him, as he has mentioned to me. So may Allah exalt his father in Jannat al-Firdaus. Durood Sharif. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa Nabiyana wa Maulana Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Maulana Muhammadin wa ashabihi wa barik wa sallim sallu alayhi salatun wa salaman alayka ya Sayyidi ya Habibi ya Tabibi ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Over the last few nights we have been discussing and sharing the Ruhani position and the Ruhani maqam of Sarkar-e Gawth Pak radiyallahu an. And I think by now we have understood that Almighty Allah has given such a baland and such a bala maqam to Sarkar-e Gawth Pak radiyallahu an, that in the state of deep spiritual ecstasy, in a state of deep spiritual absorption, whatever he would say from his zuban was from the ilham from the court of Almighty Allah. And This is why over the last few nights I've been explaining or trying to explain with my very minimal knowledge, rather not so much with my knowledge but more with the pushtpanahi of my mashayikh, especially Huzur Sayyidi Tajushariah and Huzur Muhaddis Kabir. The ash'ar of Sarkar Ala Hadrat Adimul Barakat radiallahu anhu, I've been trying to connect these to the beautiful shares that have come out from the holy Zuban of Sarkar Gawth Pak radiallahu anhu, where he mentioned and discussed the shan that Almighty Allah has given him. You must know, when it comes to the awliya Allah, there's one very important thing that you must understand, that the awliya Allah are habitual, they have this habit of concealing their reality. They don't show their real shan. They usually hide it. Like example, I said to you once before, somebody asked Sarkar Ghawthul Waqt Huzur Mufti Al-Azam Hind radiallahu anhu, ki Huzur, are you a wali? Now the person that asked was also a divana. Alhamdulillah, he was somebody that I knew well, and somebody that nowadays in Bareilly Sharif was still there. But his name was Muhyiddin. He was in this different world of his. So he would ask things that you never expected somebody to ask. So he asked Sarkar Mufti Azam Hind radiallahu anhu one day, can you imagine going to Sarkar Mufti Azam Hind or going to a wali? Subhanallah. Waqe mein diwane hote hain. So he went to Huzur Mufti Azam. He used to live in the house of Mufti Azam. And he was amongst one of the khuddam and loyal khuddam. And he, subhanallah, he asked Huzur Mufti Azam Hind. And he came and said it to me chuckling. He came to me sitting one day and he was chuckling because he was really must. So he was chuckling and he says, Afthab bhai, मैं आपको बताऊं कि मैंने हजरत से क्या पूछा? So I said, हाँ बताओ क्या पूछा? So he says, मैंने हजरत से पूछा, हजरत आप वली है? He says, I knew Hazrat is a wali. He said, I knew from childhood I'm living in that house. So I knew Sarkar Mufti Azam is a wali. But he said, I just wanted Hazrat to say with his own zuban, yes, I'm a wali, to confirm what I'm saying. So the awliya hide their reality. So he goes there and he asks Huzur Mufti Azam Hind radiallahu anhu, subhanallah, ke Hazrat, are you a wali? So he says, Huzur Mufti Azam smiled at him and he said, har mu'min wali hota hai. Subhanallah. This is a very, very deep answer. It's a very, very deep answer, and it's a answer which is true. It is reality. Because we are all Muslims, we are all Mu'mins, we are believers. And Allah has made us believers. In that sense, He has made us close to Him. Wali means one who is close, one is beloved. But he was asking in the sense of wilayat. But even in that sense, Huzur Mufti Azam said, every mu'min is a wali. Every mu'min is truly, if you are a perfect mu'min, true love of Allah and His Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you have a form of closeness in the court of Allah because of that. But the answer was amazing. He said, are you a wali? He said, every mu'min is a wali. But to understand that, you have to go back to Junaid al-Baghdadi radiyallahu anhu. You have to go back to Junaid al-Baghdadi. Junaid al-Baghdadi radiyallahu anhu says, a kamil mu'min is that person whose feet on the ground and his eyes are on Lawh Mahfuz. Whose feet are on the zameen, but his vision is on Lawh Mahfuz. His feet is in the zameen, but his eyes are on Lawh Mahfuz. These are those awliya who Allah has given that authority, that there are certain things in taqdeer by the hukum of Allah which they can change by Allah's hukum. I'm not going to go into that deep discussion. But their feet is in the zameen and their eyes are in the Lawh Mahfuz, on the protected tablet. So when Huzur Mufti Azam gave this answer, subhanallah, he was acknowledging, I am a wali. I am a close servant of Allah. But look at how he gave it. So they generally hide whatever needs to be said. So you must understand from this, that when Sarkar Gawth Azam radiallahu anhu, who is Imamul Awliya, there is nobody that has humility in the court of the Rabb amongst the awliya like Sarkar Gawth Pak. But yet Gawth Pak is telling us all this. If you look at the Qasida Sharif we've been discussing through the Ash'ar of Ala Hadrat, that Gawth Pak is telling you that سقاني الحب كثرة الوصال فقلت لخمرة النحو تعالي ساعة ومشت النحو في كؤوس فهمت بسكرة بين الموالي فقلت لسائر الأقطاب لموا بحالي وادخلوا أنتم رجالي وهم واشربوا أنتم جنودي فساك القوم بالوافي ملالي شربتم فضلتي من بعد سكري ولا نلتم علوي واتصالي مقامكم العلا جمعوا ولكن مقامي فوقكم ماذا على علي. He is telling us all these things. He is telling us how powerful he is. He is telling us his maqam. He is telling us his fazilat. Do you know why? Because he is in a state of spiritual ecstasy. He is not controlling what he is saying at that time. This is coming as ilham from the court of Allah. It is being inspired upon the heart of Gawth Pak ki Abdul Qadir ye kaho. Abdul Qadir ye kaho. Abdul Qadir ye kaho. Say that this is my maqam. This is my maqam. This is my fadilat. This is my shan. Why? So that the other Afthab understand, the other awliya understand that yes, we are close to Allah, but not as close as Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani radiallahu anhu. Okay? So Sarkare, we stopped yesterday. We were talking about the share of Ala Hadrat Azimul Barakat रदियल्लाहु अन्हु तुझसे और दहर के अक्ताब से निस्बत कैसी, तुझसे और दहर के अक्ताब से निस्बत कैसी, खुद कौन है खादिम तेरा चेला तेरा. In other words, Sarkar Ala Hadrat Azimul Barakat radiallahu anhu is saying that how can there be a comparison between you, Ya Gawth Pak radiallahu anhu, how can there be a comparison between you and the earthly kutubs directly? Who is the kutub? He is your servant and your devotee personally. The kutub is your khadim. He is your murid. But that is why Gawth Pak radiallahu anhu says that maqamukum Allah jam'u walakin maqami fawqakum ma zala ali. Okay? So he says, Sarkar Gawth Pak is telling you, indeed, all of you have been given an exalted station, a great status, but more exalted than all of you always is my position, is my station. So Sarkar Gawth Pak doing all this, I want to clarify so you understand. That this is, he is showing his maqam and his fazilat so that the others may know. And if this is to be told to the aqtabs, then we must also know that this is that person who we give our hand when we say, Maine apne haath Gawth Pak ki daste pak mein diya. When you become murid, you say, I have given my hand in the hand of Gawth Pak. You know the famous waqia, I'm going to repeat it today. You know the famous waqia, that when Huzur Mufti Azam Hind radiallahu an used to go to Calcutta. Every time Huzur Mufti Azam used to go, no announcement, no media, no this, no that, but thousands of people toot parte the. Thousands of people. I'm telling you these waqias today so that you understand better what I'm trying to explain. Thousands of them toot parte the to meet Huzur Mufti Azam Hind and take his barakat. So what the enemies of Islam decided, that they will send people to Huzur Mufti Azam Hind radiallahu anh in the guise of being Muslims. And those people will go to Huzur Mufti Azam because they did some research. What does he do? Because why they were upset? Why they upset? Their padri and their whoever comes, so much of media, so much of this, so much of that, handful people used to come. And this, in their eyes, this Baba comes and no any of this thing and no this, that and thousands. Yani no place to put your foot. So let's try and find a way to, Allah forbid, disgrace it, humiliate the Muslims. And in that way, what will happen? People won't go to meet him anymore, in brief. So what did they do? They sent some people, few of them came and they were trained that when you go in front of him, you must see he makes murid. He does something called murid. And in that he says, say, I have given my hand in the hand of Shaykh Abdul Qadir. When he does that, you must tell him, but you just now told, and before he does that, he tells you that I am making tawbah from lies, from this, from that, ghibat, this. Just now you told us we must make tawbah from lies, and you telling us we gave our hand in the hand of Abdul Qadir. You are Mustafa Raza. You are Mufti Azam. You are not Gawth Azam. So why are you telling us you're giving your hand in the hand of Gawth Azam? This is lies. So when they came and scores of thousands of people were there, and I'm giving you the brief discussion, because we've talked about it before, but because it's pertinent to the topic that we're discussing tonight. So When they came and they saw that tajalliyat and the jalal of the face of Sarkar-e Mufti Azam Hind radiallahu an, there were 3 of them, 2 gave up. 2 already gave up. You know, like Hafiz Sharif usually says when it comes to this kind of people, he says suspension collapsed. So, halat kharab ho gayi. They had no himmat to go forward. Their vehicle crashed right there and then. ठीक है? One fellow was trying to play brave. But he didn't realize his bravery wasn't for others. It was for himself. So he goes and he sits while people have become murid. And in that Huzur Mufti Azam makes people read kalima, he makes them do everything. Samajh rahe? So this fellow too reading kalima, doing everything. At the end when the time came, everybody was reading kalima, he too was reading kalima. As the time came in the end, when Huzur Mufti Azam said to everybody, say, I have given my hand in the hand of Gawth Azam. This bright spark says, I have given my hand in the hand of Mufti Azam. Huzur Mufti Azam saying, Jalal, say, you have given your hand in the hand of Gawth Azam. He is saying, I gave my hand in the hand of Mufti Azam, Mustafa Azam. Few times Huzur Mufti Azam said, and then Hazrat Mufti Azam went into the state of Jalal. The state of spiritual Jalal. And when he got into Jalal, he said, Kaho, कि मैंने अपने हाथ बड़े पीर दस्तगीर गौसे पाक के हाथ में दिया. Now that fellow is grabbing and he's saying, I gave my hand in the hand of Gawth Pak. I gave my hand in the hand of Gawth Pak. I gave my hand in the hand of Gawth Pak. Halat kharab, crying, making tawbah. Started giving the whole story what happened. After he came out from there, accepted Islam, made tawbah, did whatever, came out from there. People are asking, what happened, bhai? You didn't want to say. You're saying, I'm giving in the hand of Mufti Azam. But after that, when you started saying, I'm giving the hand of Gawth Azam, you carried on saying, what do you know who is Gawth Azam? He said, Qasam Khuda ki. I swear an oath by Allah, when that time he came into Jalal, and he said, say, I've given the hand in the hand of Gawth Azam, I saw 2 hands of light coming out of his hand. Allahu Akbar. I saw 2 nurani hands coming out of his hands. मैंने उसी वक्त यकीन कर लिया कि ये गौसे पाक के हाथ है. This is the hand of that Gawth Azam who is talking about. This is when you become a murid. A true murid, a murid sadiq. When you give your hand in the hand of a kamil sheikh, then you have given your hand spiritually in the hand of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani radiallahu ta'ala an. So the point that I'm making here is that you must understand that these pious servants of Allah, all those that even show these karamat, they are the servants of the court of Sarkar-e Gawth Pak radiallahu an. What is that shan that is given to Gawth Pak? This which they make zahir. See, Huzur Mufti Azmin there was hiding the vilayat, and here he made it zahir. Why? Because that man's hidayat was written on Mufti Azam's hand. His hidayat and his guidance was written on the hand. I remember once, Huzur Sayyidi Tajushariah, radiallahu anh, when he was in South Africa, many years ago, at the Sayyid residence there in York Place. Hazrat was sitting and he was discussing something and the room was full of people. And while they were talking, Huzur Sayyidi Tajushariah went into a sudden state of ruhaniyat. He went into a different state because he was speaking about something in Jalal. And while he was saying that about the awliya, he went into this ruhani state and Hazrat's eyes closed. And he said, Aur hum jo awliya Allah hai. Immediately, hum jo awliya Allah. This is now announcing. Unke zuban se ye baat aa gayi. Why? Because this is the command from the court of Allah. But when he realized at that time that this is what I said, he changed the topic immediately. Within a split second. And except 2 people or 3 people that were in the room, everybody that we asked, did Hazrat say such and such, or did you hear? Nobody heard. As if it was wiped out from all of them. Only 1 or 2 of us remembered what Huzur Sayyidi Tajushariah radiallahu ta'ala an said. But the point that is being made, and you know, he started to change the topic. Within minutes, everybody was worried about that topic. They forgot the original thing. Why? Because the awliya have this taqat and this power that they can put in the heart and they can erase from the heart also. Okay? So they don't make their shan zahir. They don't make their shan zahir unless and until it is commanded from the court of Almighty Allah. Now, Sarkar-e Gawth Pak radiallahu anh, I haven't started my topic for tonight yet, but I'm going on this for you to understand. But we'll speak a bit and I'll carry it on to tomorrow. Inshallah Al-Azim. So Sarkar-e Gawth Pak radiallahu anh, we said that all the awliya, all of these pious servants, they are the devotees of the court of Sarkar-e Gawth Pak, and that is why Sarkar-e Gawth Pak said to us, Maqamukum al-jam'u walakin maqami fawqakum mazala ali. Okay, now Gawth Pak radiallahu anh, concerning this shan that Almighty Allah has blessed Sarkar-e Gawth Pak radiallahu ta'ala an, Hazrat Gawth Pak radiallahu anh, when he said, Maqamukum al-jam'u walakin maqami fawqakum mazala ali, when he said to all the Afthab, when he said to all of them that the maqam that Allah has given me, that regarding that he said, indeed all of you have been given an exalted state, maqamukum al-jam'u walakin, but maqami fawqakum mazala ali, more exalted than all of you is my maqam. After Gawth Pak said that, now we're still on that share of Ala Hadrat. Cat Al से तुझसे और दहर के अफ्ताब से निस्बत कैसी, खुद कौन है खादिम तेरा चेला तेरा. Okay, so Sarkar-e Gawth Pak, after he says, now let's go back to the Qasida Gawsiya Sharif, and then Sarkar-e Gawth Pak says, Ana fi hadrati taqribi wahdi, Ana fi hadrati taqribi wahdi, yusarrifuni wa hasbi dhul jalali. What does it mean? Sarkar-e Gawth Pak is saying, let me tell you what the poet has translated in English, Urdu very nicely, and then I'll translate what I've attempted in English, which I've been doing for you every day with the Zoshar. He says, Ana fi hadrati taqribi wahdi yusarrifuni wa hasbi dhul jalali. So he says, what does it mean? Manzile kurbe ilahi mein hu mein yakta kamal. Manzile kurbe ilahi mein hu mein yakta kamal. Hu tarakki par sada kafi hai mujhko dhul jalal. Yani Sarkar-e Gawth Pak is saying to them, I have a unique position, a peerless position in my special closeness to the Almighty. I have a way, that's why he said to them first, Maqamukum al-jam'u walakin maqami fawqakum madala ali. Higher than all of you all. I said to you yesterday, he's basically telling him all of you are flying, but I am flying higher than all of you. I'm going to tell you why I used that word fly yesterday. Okay, we're going to talk about it just now. So he says, I have a unique position, I have a peerless position in my special closeness to Almighty Allah, and the Almighty, why I have this position? Yusarrifuni wa hadbi dhul jalali, ke the Almighty guides my progress. Yani from one level to another level, you are going because of my barakat, and I am going because Allah is directing me through those different veils of wilayat, by the hand of the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that Almighty Allah guides my progress. So sufficient for me is my Allah, sufficient for me is the Almighty. Yusarrifuni wa hasbi dhul jalali. Almighty Allah, the Mighty, is sufficient for me. Sarkar-e Gawth Pak radiallahu anh is telling them. Now Gawth Pak is saying to the Afthab, what is really happening here is Gawth Pak is saying to the awliya that the reason for me saying that you will not be able to reach my maqam, you won't reach Abdul-Qadir's maqam, is not only because I am continuously progressing and I am continuously excelling, so you can't catch up. Because of you excelling, but I'm also excelling. So you can't catch up. It's not only because of that, but it is because in maqam-e-taqrib. In maqam-e-taqrib. Maqam-e-taqrib is a maqam of qurb khas. It's a maqam of special nearness in the court of Almighty Allah. So he says, because in the maqam-e-taqrib, which is a manzil and a special station in attaining qurb ilahi. Okay? So he says, in that, I am peerless amongst the awliya. I am unique. There is nobody like me. And I am directed, like I said to you now, I am directed and I am guided from level to level of wilayat, of ruhaniyat, of in the maqam-e-taqrib, in the closeness to Almighty Allah, by Almighty Allah. And for Abdul Qadir, his Rabb is sufficient. In other words, you don't think something you doing is benefiting me. You don't think. He's saying this to the awliya in a good sense. Today, we do something, make Gawth Pak doing any benefit for Gawth Pak. No. You're benefiting yourself. Because he finished say, Hadbi dhul jalali. Enough for me is my Rabb Almighty Allah. Now from this share of Sarkar-e Gawth Pak radiallahu an, Ana fi hadri taqrib wahdi yusarrifuni wa hadbi dhul jalali. You'll also know that to better understand, you will better understand that previous share. Maqamukumul ula jam'u walakin Maqami fawqakum ma zala ali. The commentary of that share is this share of Qasida Ghawsiya. Ana fi hadrati takribi wahdi yusarrifuni wa hazbi zul jalali. Where Ghawsi Pak is saying that in the spiritual elevation which I am getting, which I am receiving from the court of Almighty Allah and from one level to the next, is blessed to me by Almighty Allah. And Allah Almighty is guiding me, He is directing me from one level to the next. Now the Sufiyan Ikram, the real Sufis, the great Sufiyan Ikram, the mystics, have said that to better understand this journey into the Maqam Takrib, to better understand this, you should look at one ayat of the Quran. They say to better understand this, you must look at the ayat of the Quran, وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ. So look at the verse, وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ, which has to do and which is related to the beloved Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, where Allah is saying to His beloved Habib sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, He's saying to him, وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ. He's saying to Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, He's saying to the beloved Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and we have exalted for you your remembrance. O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ, and we have exalted for you your remembrance. So the great Sufiyan Ikram have said, yes, this refers to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, where Almighty Allah is saying and telling us that He has blessed Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and He's saying to His Nabi, وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ. He's saying to His beloved Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam that we have exalted for you your remembrance. Okay, with such exalted status, wherein you are continuously progressing. Where else you are continuously progressing and excelling, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the beloved of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is continuously excelling, he's continuously progressing. Why? His Rabb has said to him, وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ. We have exalted for you your remembrance. When the Rabb exalts, that exaltation can't stop. Okay? For the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So subhanallah, in the veil of this discussion, in the parda of وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ, Sarkar Gawth Pak radiallahu anh is saying to the Afthab that Almighty Allah is sufficient for me. In reality, what he's saying, the Sufiyan Ikram say that what he's saying, in reality, my Rabb is sufficient for me, who exalted the remembrance of my forefather, Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, through whose sadqa Al-Qaadiri is excelling over and over and over and over again. Okay, this is the sadqa of that very same Rasul, whom Allah is saying, وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ, because He is giving Al-Qaadiri this from the court of Almighty Allah. So when the Nabi Shan is this, then whomsoever He exalts, subhanallah, by the hukum of Almighty Allah. Hence, while explaining this, you can tell me, Maulana, where you went and took this from? Sufiyan Ikram said, let me tell you, the biggest Sufi of his time is Ala Hadrat. Ala Hadrat Azimul Barakat says, وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ كَهَ سَايَا تُجْ par. That the shade of وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ, how Gawth Pak is on you. وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ كَهَ سَايَا تُجْ par. Bol bala hai tera, zikr hai uncha tera. That, oh Gawth Azam radiallahu an, your status being so exalted, he's saying that the shade that in you, the shade of we have exalted for your zikr, is glowing. In other words, oh Gawth Pak, in you and over you, the shade and the shadow of وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ is glowing. Eminent you always are, at a height your tribute is glowing. That is why you find in the corners of the dunya, in the corners of the dunya, people know who Shaykh Abdul Qadir is. The jinnat know who Shaykh Abdul Qadir is, because Gawth Pak is Gawth al-Thaqalain. He is the Gawth of the insan and he is the Gawth of the jinns also. That is why. Why? Because وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ كَهَ سَايَا تُجْ par. Bol bala hai tera, zikr hai uncha tera. Sarkar Ala Hadrat has explained this to us. Now, the maqam which Gawth Azam radiallahu anh is explaining to Afthab can be better understood now in the next share of Qasida Ghawsiyah Sharif. I've spoken almost half an hour already, I think. It can explain in the next share of Qasida Ghawsiyah Sharif this thing which Ala Hadrat is saying, कि وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ كَهَ سَايَا تُجْ par, bol bala hai tera, zikr hai uncha tera. That shan of وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ is upon you, O Abdul Qadir. That is why you said this. That is why you made this this statement. When you said in the court of the Afthab, when you said to them, Ana fi hadrati taqribi wahdi, yusarrifuni wa hasbi dhul jalali, that is why it is because of this blessing of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that your Rabb is sufficient for you, for the Rabb who took Rasul Pak, your forefather sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to these heights. That is why Gawth Pak radiallahu anh, after he says this share, he now makes a bold and a very powerful statement. He says, Anal Baziyu. He says, Anal Baziyu ashhabu kulli shaykh. Anal Baziyu ashhab kulli shaykh. Wa man dha fir rijali u'ti amsali. Sarkar Gawth Pak radiallahu anh is making a very bold statement. Baz sab shaykho par hoon, ऊंची मेरी परवाज है. बाज सब शेखों पे हूं, ऊंची मेरी परवाज है. मुझसे है किस पर अता, मुझको खुदा पर नाज है. What is trying to say? I am so pleased with my Rabb. My Rabb has given me this maqam. What is this maqam that Allah has given me? That today Al-Qaadiri is saying, Ana al-Bazi wa ashhab kulli shaykh. Wa man dha fi rijali uti misali. In other words, above all the sheikhs, above all the sheikhs, I'm the Bazi ashhab. Above all the sheikhs, above all the peers, I am the greyish white falcon. I am the greyish white falcon flying high. Who is there amongst the men of piety who is received like me? Why did Gawth Pak radiallahu anh say, Subhanallah? Why did he say, I am Baz al-Ashhab? Why did he say, I am this white falcon, this greyish white falcon? Some refer to it as the peregrine falcon, the peregrine falcon. Why do they say that? Do you know something? Let me tell you, and I'll complete this discussion, if Allah wills, tomorrow, about the Baz al-Ashhab and the maqam amongst the awliya in that sense. Okay? If you go and you research the greyish white or the white falcon or the peregrine falcon, you will see the speed. I'm telling you this so you understand tomorrow's discussion better. The speed of that falcon is between 320 and 390 kilometers per hour. And there is no bird on earth that can fly higher than it. And Gawth Pak is giving himself that example, that amongst the awliya, ana baziyul ashhab. Amongst the awliya, and here we're not talking in the barga of Gawth Pak 320 and 390. You can't even fathom it. You can't even understand it. But he's given the example in his qawl. An al-badiyu ashhab. I'm like the greyish white peregrine falcon amongst all the mashayikh. Why? Because he's giving you the example that no matter how much they are flying, they are going at whatever. The eagles go at 200 and this and that. But this one is going there. This is Abdul Qadir Jilani's status. This is maqam amongst the awliya. He's like that greyish white peregrine falcon that goes at that speed. In other words, he gave it so that we understand where the others are and where Abdul Qadir is in maqam-e-qurb, in the closeness to his creator, Almighty Allah. So, inshallah al-Azim, tomorrow I will discuss this share related to the share وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ kahe sayatum par of Allah Hadrat radiyallahu anh. As I've said, I've taken a little bit extra time. I started early and I finished a bit later than normal, I think, or probably the same. Tomorrow, inshallah al-Azim, I will discuss more detail on this beautiful share of Sarkar Gawth Pak radiallahu anh. All of them are beautiful in the Qasida Gawthiyya Sharif. But this one has numerous secrets hidden in it. And from this share, you will understand the later shares of Qasida Gawthiyya Sharif. If you listened to where I started, with the Ashar of Allah Hazrat, and if you listened, I'm going to end with this, and then the little advice that I give at the end. If you listen to what I discussed from the beginning of Qasida Gawthiyya Sharif, while explaining Allah Ashar, and indeed the explanation of which I'm trying to give, it's very deep, and I'm sure but most of you do understand. But this too is the barakat of Allah Hadrat radiallahu anh. That's why his ash'ar are helping us to understand. Okay? And this ruhani understanding is the sadqa of our mashayikh, our budurgan din. Otherwise it's difficult to even understand. So, if you look at from where I started, with the ash'ar, from Saqani, and you come down to where I am now, You will find in every share, in every couplet of that Arabic qasida of Sarkar-e Gawth Pak radiallahu anh, it started off with just the drinking, the discussion of drinking that love and that drink of qurb. But in every share, he's opening one parda to his maqam. Have you noticed that? The one is showing his maqam more than the next. And another one is showing the maqam more than the previous one. And the next one is showing the maqam more than the previous one. In other words, Gawth Pak was taking the abdals, the Afthab, the abdals and all the awliya on a spiritual journey at that time. And because of the journey that he took them, and we received this Qasida Sharif today we learned about this journey of the great Imam al-Awliya, Sarkar-e Gawth Pak radiallahu anh. So inshallah, as I said, I don't think I can finish all the ash'ar before the 11th night. If Allah wills another time, we'll go there. But for now, even the discussions that we're having every night, it is very short time to even explain one of those ash'ar. I'm trying to bring the ocean into a little jar so that we can understand as best as we can. By the grace of Allah and the mercy of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the karam of our mashayikh. So just keep in mind before tomorrow's lecture. If you are, I know Saturday night is special nights for everybody. Somebody is going here and somebody is going there, but if you can find the time to join, few nights left. Not because I'm saying anything, because we're sitting in the mahfil of Gawth Pak, and I think we're learning a lot about Huzur Gawth Pak and the maqam ruhaniyat of Sarkar-e Gawth Pak. So if you come tomorrow, before you come, keep the speed of this falcon in your mind. And why Gawth Pak said this. Tomorrow I'm going to go a bit deep into that discussion. That why did he use this example? And what is he implying, not only about the speed, what is he now implying in that? And you will understand the answer to that in the shares that will come after that in Qasida Sharif, inshallah. Allah give us so much tawfiq. Allah protect our iman from the enemies of Islam. And as I've been saying every night for a little while, and it is very important to us to remember, Huzur Sayyidi Tajushariah radiallahu anh always used to say that protect your Sunni identity. This is a very important thing. Protect your Sunni identity. You know, if you, in example without comparison in the dunya, if you lose your ID card, I was talking to Abdul Barakat in the car, we were talking something about how important this, they've made the ID cards in the dunya and this and that. If you don't have one form of identification, if you don't have your driver's license, they want your ID. If you don't have your ID, they want your license. If you don't have a license, they want your passport. They need some form of identification for a person to be recognized as who they are. If you live in South Africa, if you don't have any form of identification, you are an alien. If you can't prove your identity. Okay? Muhammad Sahib knows the law better than me when it comes to the South African law. So, when you can't prove your identity and you cannot prove that you are that, what happens? You are an alien. So how important it is for you to make sure that nobody steals your identity? How important it is for you to protect your identity? What is your identity in this country? That document, that card that they've given us, okay? But you protect it, or what do you do with your ID card? Now everybody is not ehsan bhai. Divano ki phek do dekho kya hota hai. Samajh rahe? You protect your identity. You protect that card, okay? You protect it, you look after it. I'm saying this because he's a very divana person, must. Yani, instead of putting the tawiz inside the car, he got the tawiz in the bonnet of his car. Samajh rahe? MashaAllah. So, everybody, but the point that I'm making is that the identity, your identity card is so important, right? A light-hearted moment out of love. I'm not mocking him, I'm showing my love towards him. That's what our mashayikh do. We learn from them. So, and you learn something from that also. That have trust in Allah, okay? But tie your camel. So, you have your identity card. And you decide, I want to go to the airport. You and I decide, we want to go to the airport from South Africa. Or somebody, we have listeners that are listening from all over the world online to us. India and Pakistan and Europe and UK and from all over the world, mashallah. And even from the holy cities, from the court of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We have brothers that have been listening to us, subhanallah. So, like the Malawi, Atif Bhai is listening every night, mashallah. Numerous others. So, you see that if I go to the airport, okay, and I get there and I want to travel to Medina Sharif or anybody else. I want to go to India or anywhere else. I go to the airport, I take my ticket, I take everything, and I go to the counter there and I say I want to fly. What are they going to ask you? Passport. You say, I don't have any passport. Say, bye, go home. Go home. If you want to travel out of this country, you need to have a legal document. What for, bhai? So that when you get to the other country, they recognize who you are and what is your identity. They recognize where you came from, that you are not an alien. If you go anywhere without the legal document, you are an alien. This is the mamla of the dunya. This is the mamla of the dunya. That without that card, without that piece of paper, without that document, you are an alien. You will not be given any recognition. You won't be given the rights of that particular country that you claim to be from. You won't be given any treatment based on that. You won't be treated based on the protocol of that place because you can't prove you are from there. So how important is it to protect that identification? Look after that identification is very important. Otherwise you and I are in big trouble. You go to the bank, no ID, no nothing, I'm that person, I came to take out account from this money from this account. They'll say, go home, bhai. Ye to bolege na. You can't prove your identity. How are you going to do it? Now to protect the identity of the dunya is so important. But what about to protect your Sunni identity? The identity of your Iman. You have to protect it. Tajushariah went on saying, protect your Sunni identity. Why he said this? If you don't protect your Sunni identity, and you're going to be looked at as an alien mix, sulh kulli, and this and that, sitting with everybody, you're not protecting your ID. By not protecting your Sunni identity means by sitting with bad mazhabs. That people think you are like them, they'll count you amongst them. If you don't protect that identity, when you go in the bargah of Gawth Pak, no matter who you are, no matter who you are not recognized, you are an alien. You are not recognized. You need to go with identity and the proper stamp, the proper visa. And the stamp is the stamp from the court of Allah, Hazrat Imam Ahmad Raza, radiyallahu ta'ala an, and the Mashayikh, Sarkar Khaja Garib Nawaz, all the Budurg. Then Gawth Pak going to put his Nazre Karam on you. Otherwise nothing. Go, you went empty, you're going to come back empty. Kuch bhi nahi hoga. Do you understand? Any bargah that is. So you have to protect the Sunni identity. It is very important for you to protect it. Why? Because that identity gives you that status, in inverted commas, in the court of the beloveds of Almighty Allah. You will be recognized by them, by that Sunni identity. But if you want to be Sunni too and Shia too, they say sushi nowadays. Where's Walwale? Fuzail. Want to be this too and that too? तो कहाँ जाएगे जब तू ये भी नहीं वो भी नहीं कुछ भी नहीं होगा. And that is what they want. That is what Sulh Kulliyat is about. They want to make you lose your Sunni identity. ये भी रहो वो भी रहो, दोनों तरफ के नहीं होगे. और हमें उस तरफ तो होना ही नहीं है, हमें तो होना है इस तरफ. समझ रहे? Keep that in your mind. Protect your identity. Don't jump from this side to that side. If you're going to do that, कुफ्र मुनकर वो बड़ा जोश तअस्सुब आखिर भीड़ में हाथ से कम बख्त का ईमान गया. Allah give us tawfiq khair. I am telling you these things so that it's for your protection of your own iman. And it helps me to remember that I have to protect my iman and my identity as well. Allah give us all tawfiq khair. Allah iman ke saath rakhe, iman ke saath uthaye. All those who are ill in our community, Allah give them shifai kamil, sehat ajil. Those that have passed away in Ahlul Sallah, Allah exalt them in Jannatun Na'im. Those that are going through any difficulty, Allah remove them from the difficulties. Protection, we make dua for the Sunnis of Palestine. We make dua for the Sahat and Salamati of Huzur Sayyidi Muhaddis Kabir, Huzur Sayyidi Qaid Millat, and all the Mashayikh of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'at. And we make dua as well for the Isra Swab of Janab Ghulam Rasul, father of Ghulam Dastagir, and all the marhums of the Ahl Sunnah. Wa ma'alayna al-balagh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.